It's podcast. You're listening to Gorehead and the Wiener.
Welcome to another episode of Gorehead and the Wiener. Today we'll be talking about The Descent.
I was kind of excited when you're telling me you were going to watch a spelunking movie because I have a strange fascination with spelunking. Yes, I love watching people talk about climbing, like cave diving, and also just in general cave exploration, because the going into the unknown is fascinating. Exploring it, I don't know if I could do it physically, but I like hearing the stories. So, yes,
You enjoy it with no interest in doing it yourself.
That's like many things in my life. It's like, tell me stories about this. That's what spawned this entire podcast, was you telling me all about all the movies I never wanted to watch.
Right? There you go. So that means, and you're watching them now, so that means one day you too could go spelunking.
It's true. Maybe I'm just dipping my toes in very little bit by bit.
Once you can conquer horror movies, who knows? Sky's the limit, or the center of the earth is the limit.
The next step will be actually playing horror video games, because I hate playing them, but I love watching other people play them because I don't have any responsibility over the outcome. So I just like watching it. But yeah, maybe one day I'll do like a let's play of me playing through Resident Evil 7, because that's the one I still need to play. It's scary.
10 years after its release, you'll get around to it when Resident Evil 14's coming out.
I'll be at least 40 by the time I actually play it.
Get around to it.
It's a 10-year-old game, but you know.
Yeah, I do feel the same way about horror games. I feel like that was something that's far more immersive, so I get much more freaked out by it, because it's like you don't know when it's going to come. So it's like I'm used to watching horror movies, so you can kind of always anticipate what's going to happen for the most part. Or it's like it's not as engaging to me, so I don't feel as invested in it, because I'm not like directly in control of the decision of whether my guy lives or dies. In a movie, it's like, well, they'll either live or die, but I don't have anything to do with it. But in a game, it's like, oh shit, you got to try to not die yourself. And so I can only play horror games for like 45 minutes at a time before like my heart starts racing too fast. I'm just like, oh god, fuck this, I can't play this anymore.
That's when you need to have a buddy and switch off, on, switch off. Yeah. That's the dream. But anyways, we're talking about The Descent today, and I will let you give like a quick little movie intro before we get into the details of it.
All right. Descend into a story of friendship and teamwork as a group of spelunking friends tumble down deep into uncharted caves that threaten to plummet their lives into an unfathomable pit of despair. Will these ladies ascend back into the light or hit rock bottom, never to escape? I tried to come up with as many words for like going down as possible.
Yeah, I mean that's the movie. It's true. It's like things just keep getting worse when they continue to go down, and then eventually when they start working their way up, it's like, okay, we're getting closer to the ending.
And then we don't know. We'll see what happens.
We'll talk about it. So I'll get into the gore rating now, because this one tested me more, and I wasn't sure what to rate it, because I almost gave it like a 3.5 out of 5. Like, it's pretty hard in some parts, but I did it, so I based it off of which areas I couldn't watch. And the one area I definitely couldn't watch was when the girl broke her leg and like her bone was poking out of her leg.
Fracture.
And I almost gave it more than 1 point, because they kept going back to it. Like, they keep going back to it.
Scene.
It's so much. She breaks her leg and it looks bad already with her pants on, and then they take the pant off and you see it, and then they have to like set the leg back together, and they're showing stuff from that. And so it's just
Sounds
like
too.
multiple scenes of them showing that, and like I couldn't watch any of them. So I just took 1 point off, but be forewarned, there's a long-ish, like it's not a long sequence, but for what they're showing, it's a lot. And it's
They don't usually
all
hold on it that long.
broken leg shit with the actual bone poking out, and it just is terrible. So 1 point off for that. 0.5 of a point off for rope, like
rope gore.
burn.
yeah, she
I
gets a
guess
really
it's
bad
rope-
friction burn. Yeah, the
rope
rope's
burn.
this woman's falling and the rope's going super fast, and then she tries to grab it with her bare hand,
Yeah.
which never try to
Which-
do that, for fuck's sakes. Never ever. There's a reason why you
No.
wear gloves.
Which is a very real thing, because I've heard actual cave divers and spelunkers talk about this, as if you have there was this one situation where I can't remember, I think it was cave diving, and they were pulling something up from the depths, and I think a shark or something got whatever was on the bottom of this rope, and all of a sudden the rope just started going, and it actually went through his whole hand. Like the rope went through his hand. Yeah.
To like what is it?
Fucked
Cut
up,
off
right?
it? To like cut off his
It
hand?
was
Like,
it didn't cut it fully off, but
but,
it
like,
went
went
through
all-
like all the tendons,
bone.
everything. Yeah, went through everything.
Oh.
So it's very real. This is not like exaggerated. If anything, it would probably be worse than what they showed. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was gross. Just the idea of it. Like I think the actual gore, you just see mostly bloody stuff. You don't necessarily see much of like the hand separating or something. But it's still gross, so that's why I gave it 0.5. And then a 0.5 for just everything else, because there's a bunch of shit that happens.
Yeah,
Most of it is watchable, but it's there's a lot of flinching and like, yeah.
Yeah, like the overall.
It's a good upward. What's the word? It's like a good level of increase in gore from what we were watching. So, yeah, 3 out of 5. So, there's definitely, there's some gore. I feel like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess 3 out of 5 gory wieners wouldn't be able to watch it. I don't know. Was that my rating?
You forgot. That means that the 3 of you can watch it.
3.
You forgot your own system. It's all falling apart. Because 5 out of 5 means that anyone can watch it. So if it's 3 out of 5, that means 2.
I wonder if. Yeah, okay, 2 of us couldn't watch it. That makes more sense. Because like, I might have rated an old one bad, like opposite. Anyways, yeah, it makes sense.
5 good,
70?
0 bad.
It's like 60% survival rating for this one.
Yeah.
So.
There you go. Yeah.
I'll get into the gore, like the detailed gore summary now. So the first thing we see is a pole impaling a person, but you don't necessarily see the pole go through. You just kind of see.
You see the exit part though, and a lot of blood.
You see the exit. You see the exit, and but you don't see it go through like the front of the face. It's like you see it come out the back. So that.
The timing of it's
scary,
very
but
shocking,
it's
just how like quickly it happens. It's very jarring, I would say.
And then the next one is the hand rope burn. And then the next one is the leg break. So you get the 2 real bad ones, like in a row. It's terrible. There's a throat bite. There's a throat stab. There's bashing of heads. There's a throat rip out. There's like a zombie eating situation.
Your grocery
and there's
list
a leg
of gore.
stab. Yeah, it is. But like
we
the
got
other ones...
throat slash, head bash, throat poke.
But I would say like the throat bite, stab, like the bashing, it's all happening in like
very quick shots.
They're really quick shots, and they're happening in a sequence where people are trying to escape. They're trying to like fight something. So it's very quick and sudden, and it doesn't feel like it's too much. So
it's very frantic, so you're not really
it's
focusing
frantic.
on anything too much in that. Like, I would
It's like if
say,
you watch zombie movies, it's
you
sort
kind of
of like
separate the
those
movie into
sequences.
two between kind of like what the gore is, where the first half is very grounded, understandable gore and violence, where it's something that any human being could experience if they went on one of these journeys. Like, it's very practical in how they hurt themselves. Like, you can understand it. And then in the second half is more where it goes into the realm of a fantasy and less believability, where it's like, okay, there's still violence happening, but now a normal person isn't going to worry about this too much when they go spelunking, compared to like falling down a hole and wrecking your leg or burning your hand on a rope. Like,
Yeah.
so it's really good at kind of how the movie like transitions into the more far-fetched gore
Yeah.
in the second half, because it kind of prepares you with enough grounded gore that you are now feeling unease because these characters are getting injured and they're stuck in this goddamn cave, and now all of a sudden they have this other bullshit to deal with, and you're just like, oh no, these people are already fucked up. How are they gonna get out of here? And then they get more fucked up.
They get more fucked up. So I guess it depends on what type of gore freaks you out the most. Because if you are bad at the same gore that I'm bad at, it's the very grounded, realistic stuff. That it's like the shots linger on those moments longer because they are more realistic, and I feel like holding on shots like that is very effective because the audience can relate to it. So if that's the sort of stuff, I think like most people, the relatable stuff is the stuff that's rough.
Mhm.
Then you'll probably feel the same about the movie that I do. But if you really hate like zombie movies, if you really hate stuff that feels more like monster scary stuff, then the second half of the movie will be worse for you. So
Yeah, it's kind of like haunted house scare kind of at the second half, where eventually it gets to the part where you're just waiting for something to jump out of the darkness at one of them. It's
yeah.
like, "Bah!" Like, that's essentially, it's better than that. I don't want to say that it's
Oh
just
yeah, it's
like
better
as
than that,
basic
but
as a haunted house, but it's
I
essentially
know
breaking it down.
because there's some people. My sister is this way, where she could watch like hospital dramas, and she could see actual, like not real. Well, I think she has seen both, where it's just like footage of surgeries and
Yeah.
people's like bodies being pulled open and all this like human body gore. She is 100% fine with that, but she can't watch like a scary house movie of stuff jumping out, even if there's no gore. Like, that's terrifying to her. Whereas for me, it's like, that's fine. I mean, I don't like ghosts because that's a whole other situation.
They're
But
totally real and they'll get you.
it's because when I fall asleep at night, then I'll picture ghosts. But
It's our
with,
nighttime scare for sure.
yeah, but with horror movies, it's just the gore. It's literally just the gore for the most part that I can't handle.
Mhm.
The if it's like super fucked up and I can't relate to it at all, I'm usually okay watching it. It doesn't necessarily make me feel good, but I'm not gonna like close my eyes, I guess. You know what I mean? So
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
I feel like there's two different types of people with that have a hard time with horror movies. It's like one, it's the scare aspect; other, it's the gore aspect.
Yeah, yeah. That's true.
But anyway,
And the great horror movies just put both together, make them all
yep.
horrifying.
And it all gives you the same feeling.
Hmm. Movies
The
of terror.
worst.
Beautiful.
Yep. But yeah, so now I can get into the detailed summary and we're going to go through the movie bit by bit. And
Mhm.
once again, it was very hard for me to simplify this, so yeah, we'll just
Yeah, it's a
make
lot
our
of.
way through.
It's also I forgot how much kind of
So little
how
dramas happen.
I remember all that stuff, but more like the kind of the abstract imagery of like her visions and stuff, where it's like, oh, it's kind of like a David Lynch film, where when she
Oh,
has all of these kind of like moments in her mind where it just kind of like cuts to like a birthday cake or something. And I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about all of this stuff. That's
oh,
like
yeah. That's a good point.
all of her sad mental trauma part, which is goes into the
Oh,
name of
yeah.
the descent.
The descent into madness. Yeah, there's some cool imagery in this movie. I liked it.
It's a very well shot movie. I will just give
It
it that.
is.
Cinematography is wonderful in this movie, and the lighting.
And yeah, so this film was shot in 2005, and I really enjoyed watching just, I don't know, their fashion choices and
Oh, I'll,
like
I'll just say,
the
like,
way it was shot.
the mid aughts for horror was like, ooh, that was a bumpy time. There is like so much use of because like that's when the Matrix was really popular, so there's like a lot of like techno and like blah 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 blah,
Yeah.
like flashing, crazy twisting cameras all the time and like weird like choppy editing where it's like every
Yeah.
fifth frame is shown and. It was like this time like I don't know, people thought they were being like punk rock or something,
Yeah,
but
that's
it just
right.
looked awful. And it ages
Yeah.
terribly. There's so much heavy metal
That's
in it. But
that's when
this
like punk and
thankfully does
grunge
none
and
of that.
stuff. Yeah. I think of the music video for Firestarter from
Oh, yo,
you know that
Firestarter.
one?
Yes, yes, yes. Or like a
Firestarter.
corn music
I shot the
video. Things look
Firestarter.
like a corn music video or like a Disturbed. You know, the all
Yeah.
like a Tool music video. Tool was a little better actually. Those were kind
Tool
of
is
spooky.
better. They're like the ones that did it more classy, but
Yeah.
it still was 2000s like peak.
But yeah,
Uh,
it was a bumpy time for
anyway.
horror during that period. Just oof, too
But
much
yeah, so
techno and leather.
it definitely felt like it was filmed in the 2000s, but it felt like a classy one from the 2000s. And
Very, very.
it's a it's a British horror film, so that automatically makes it a little bit more
I
classy.
have to say, some of my favorite horror films are definitely British horror. They're good at
They
subtlety.
just they're good in general. I think they just have a better grasp of, I don't know,
Well, they put characters first
timing.
and then insert the scares, so you
Yes.
have
Oh,
a
100.
good
That's a
base.
good
You
way
don't
to
just
put
have
it. They
cardboard cutouts.
British acting, British shows are very much more character focused
Hmm.
versus United
Yeah,
States American shit, which is like appearance focused
yeah,
and
situational like based, where
and
it's like,
situational, but like on top of that, they will hire people based on appearances
oh
and
yes,
then their
the
talent.
name. Hmm.
And then British stuff is usually like, you're right for the role and you look like you could fit the part, but your actual acting abilities comes before your appearance,
Yeah,
which I appreciate so much.
when you look at every woman in this character, you know that they weren't hired because of their boob size. Where they're like, oh,
Exactly.
that's
They're
the
all
dumb one
good.
with the tits. I get it.
Exactly. There's no one in this movie that is a bad actor. They're
Yeah.
all good, and you get immersed in the movie perfectly. So, anyways, I can talk about the movie now. So it's a 2005 British horror film written and directed by Neil Marshall. It grossed approximately 57.1 million against a 3.5 million budget. So it
Made
did very
50,
well.
57 million. Damn.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
it
I
did
did not know it
real
made that
well.
much.
Yeah. So yeah, the movie is about thrill seeker friends Sarah, Juno, and Beth. It starts out with them whitewater rafting together. So that kind of just gives you like a little insight into the types of people they are. They love doing adrenaline style activities.
Also, like, good for them because, like, it's so foreign to, like, for me just to think about, like, a bunch of women going on adrenaline junkie things together.
Yeah.
It's just, like, it's such a rare kind of environment generally that's it's kind of nice to actually
Yeah.
see just a bunch of females in. It's because, like, so often it would be a bunch of dudes doing it.
Which is refreshing because honestly, I had a lot of friends back in Vancouver where we would all just go snowboarding together, we'd all go hiking together, and it's just a bunch of female friends. But
Hmm.
you don't see that represented in film as much, so it's
Or
nice.
I can't think of much. Yeah. Unless it's an
Can't think about
inspirational
it.
sports film. Like, that's the only time.
Yeah, oh, look at these ladies that can actually do a sport.
So wonderful. They train so
Oh,
hard.
look at them go. They train so hard. So yeah, they've done this water rafting thing, and it's sort of like a nice little montage of them having fun. And then
Girls have
afterwards,
been fun.
our main character Sarah, she's in the car driving back with her husband and the daughter, but the husband seems a little distracted. She's kind of like inquiring if there's anything going on, and the husband's like, "No, no, it's fine." And then immediately there's a car accident. Like a pole
Asshole
juts
drifts
through his
right
head.
into another car. It's like, I'm
Yeah.
fine.
He's fine. Crash. Pole
Totally
goes
his
through his
fault.
head, and it goes through their daughter's head as well, which we don't see, but we find that out later.
Thankfully, they decide not to show that part.
Oh
That'd
my
be too
god.
much.
So immediately I'm just like, oh fuck, alright, here we go. And
Double homicide.
Sarah's the only one that survives this accident. And yeah, so we cut to a year later. Yeah. We cut to a year later, and we've got the same group of girls, Sarah, Juno, and Beth. And then there's some new girls as well, Sam, Rebecca, and Holly. They're all together at a cabin for a spelunking adventure, which is hilarious because it just shows them like all kind of, having fun. They're drinking. And then the next morning, they have to immediately wake up and go on this hike to get to a cave. I'm like, why? Why would you guys be drinking if you're getting up at like 5 a.m. the next morning to go spelunking?
Oh, it's awful. Like, why that? Like, just the idea of being hungover and having to hike to a cave, then let alone go into that cave and then go into tight areas in that cave. It's like, I wouldn't want to do that while I'm feeling hungover. It's like,
Oh
let's
God,
do
can
it
you
tomorrow.
imagine like going into tight areas while you're hungover? Like the tightest area I want to go into is like a couch with a blanket and just wrap in a
exactly.
blanket, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, this is good. I'm
Yeah.
gonna nap.
I'm going to stay here the rest of the day now.
I will stay here and think about the choices I made last night.
Yeah, exactly. Not, I'm going to go for a jog first thing in the morning and then wake up all my friends like a huge asshole.
I used to do that when I was
Juno,
21.
that peppy bitch.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So Sarah is the main character. She's the one that was in the car.
Sarah's
Her husband
sad.
died. Sarah is the sad Sarah. And Juno, she's like an Asian girl that was on she was also on the water rafting crew. So I'm trying to like physically describe everyone, but there's
like
they're
blonde
all
haired
white,
lady, short
except
spiky
for one Asian girl.
Irish lady, and then younger sister.
Like Sarah's like she's blonde, the main character, and then Juno,
Beth's
she's like
blonde
the
as well.
annoyingly peppy. Juno's not blonde. She's Asian.
No,
right?
Juno's black hair. I said Beth. Beth is blonde.
Oh, Beth is blonde. We're just confusing the audience at this point. But anyways, Juno's just annoyingly peppy. We probably don't even need to give a physical description for this point, but anyways, it's just mostly for me to follow who I'm even talking about. But yeah, Juno is annoyingly peppy. She shows up and she's just like, all right, ladies, let's go. And like opens the door. It's like letting all the cold air in. And everyone's like, oh, God damn it. I'm like, all right, immediately don't like this Juno chick. And they all drive up the mountain and hike to a cave entrance, which is literally just a hole in the ground. And they start to descend.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's like 100-foot drop, too. It's like a hard-ass, like start to your adventure.
God, yeah. I mean, I've visited areas that have caves that you can actually spelunk down into, and there were a few like that where it's like there's a sign that says welcome to blah 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 cave. I'm like, where's the cave? And then I look down and I'm like, oh, it's the hole in the ground. No. I am not going into that one.
Never.
No, thank you. So while they're in the cave, Juno apologizes for not being there after the accident to Sarah. But Sarah isn't really having it. She's distant, which is kind of understandable.
She's got a lot on her mind. She's hallucinating her daughter every once in a while at this point as well. I think she's heard her daughter giggle, I think, at this point.
That's right. She's heard some giggles.
So she's having the mental trouble times. She also trips balls really hard in the hospital. She has that crazy ball tripping sequence where she's running through the halls and like all the lights are turning off around her.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah, you kind of set up that Sarah's not quite fully hinged.
She's not fully hinged. She's got a lot of PTSD from an accident. That
Maybe she shouldn't be going on this trip right now.
yeah, and I don't think she realized it was gonna be this intense. But yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah, yeah, it gets
So,
intense.
and the way that they light these parts is pretty cool. When they get into the cave, they're using flares a lot of the time to sort of light up areas. So it's a red light. So that is a very
Dramatic.
nice, effective way to get a dramatic lighting in a natural way that isn't forced. So it still feels natural, but it is making it the situation feel more uneasy. Whereas like if they just had their flashlights and it's just like a warm white light or something or a yellow light, it would feel a little more neutral, but the red kind of gives it that vibe of like, all right, we're in a horror movie.
Yeah. It's like it feels like they're about to go like dig a hole for a body, then go eat some spaghetti, like in the Goodfellas.
Okay.
It's very intensely red, and they're all standing there, and it's like they have these dramatic shadows cast. It's like, oh, they need some spaghetti.
Oh yeah, all the dramatic shadows. But so yeah, after this, the group is moving through a narrow passageway. Each person gets through. Each person gets through. Sarah's the last one, and it collapses behind her, which is just freaking great. Because of
It's so
course
spooky,
it's Sarah.
that scene. That's the scariest part of the movie for me, is when she almost gets smushed by the rocks in the tiny cave, because she's trapped and she's freaking out and she's stuck.
Yes.
And like, that's my greatest fear, being stuck underground in a goddamn hole. Like,
They shot it so well. They made it so claustrophobic. And to be honest, I don't know if they could shoot it in any other way, because can you imagine shooting in a cave? Can you imagine trying to get shots in a confined space? So like, I feel like there's only one way to shoot it, and that is to create a claustrophobic type of feel, which they did very well.
Very spooky.
So that was kind of, I feel like that was sort of the instigating moment of the rest of the movie, where it's like things get a little shit from this point on.
Yeah, because like now that was their only way out, and this is when the first bombshell of the movie is dropped, and the first realization that yes, Juno is definitely a huge asshole.
She's the asshole of the movie. So thankfully Sarah doesn't get crushed. Like, she gets out of the hole in time before it collapses completely, and then Juno basically admits that she led the group into an unknown cave system so that they could discover it in hopes of restoring their relationship. So she thought,
what an egotistical dickhead.
right? She thought that discovering an unknown cave would kind of help everyone in this sort of like distant friend group restore their connections somehow, in like a weird ego trip of whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand why she would
we
think
could find
that,
it
but
ourselves and discover it. I was gonna name it after you, and she says this to Sarah. It's like, fuck you.
yeah,
You see
of
you
course.
next Tuesday.
I'm sure they would name the cave Sarah.
Yeah. The Sarah Cave. That's lame.
Sarah Cave. Yeah, so she's an asshole, and that was she has explained that's the only way out, and there's nobody coming for them because no one even knows about this cave. So they can't even get rescued at this point.
Yeah. Because when you go on these expeditions, normally you register with a ranger's office. You tell them where you're going to go. So if you're going to do this crazy bullshit thing, at least if you don't come back out and they don't hear back from you in like a certain amount of time, the rangers will send safety teams to find you. So if they know that where you are, they will probably find you, because if you are on a charted cave, they will just search the whole goddamn thing until they find you. But if you're an asshole that just goes to a completely unknown one, you're fucked.
And you're not supposed to go into these caves without training. So like, normally you wouldn't even be allowed into these places, because a lot of them you have to go to, like you said, like an office place to register for it, and if you don't have certificates of any sort of training, they'll only let you go into like super beginner caves or whatever. And something like this that doesn't have a map, it's never been explored before, would absolutely be off limits to people that have never cave explored before in their
Well,
life.
you could
which
just take
it seems like they
one
have,
step
but
into it, the whole goddamn thing could collapse on you. You don't know. It's like
no
you're
one is.
playing with
Yeah,
fire.
stupid. So yeah, if anyone is doing cave exploration, cave diving, you need to have training. You need to know
Yeah, just
what the fuck you're getting yourself into, because it is the easiest way to die.
goddamn. Yeah, you don't want a weekend warrior that shit.
No, 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 no. So,
Go
anyways, this
bouldering
happens.
at one of those like walls with the colorful rocks
Yeah.
instead. Go
Oh
do
yeah,
that.
do that. I've done that. That's hard enough.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
I can only do the easy ones. Uh, so they're exploring the cave a little more, and they discover that there's a cave painting which suggests that an exit does exist, which was kind of a hilarious scene because they just show this cave painting. They're like, "Look, this means there's an exit." I'm like, "Does it? Does it mean there's an exit? How do you? How are you coming to this conclusion?" And everyone
like,
just kind of accepts it. It's like, okay,
yeah, it's like
exposition.
they kind of show like the hole and then another hole, but like it's a cave painting,
It's
and
not
so it's
clear.
not drawn to scale. It's not like it's a
No.
cohesive map that is like
No,
guiding
it's
you. It's
not.
just like somewhere in this unknown depth there could possibly be another way out based off of this who knows how fucking old ancient cave painting.
Yep. Who
You
fucking
know,
knows?
yeah,
So
it's
they just
pretty vague
blindly
hope
trust.
at this point.
They have no other options though.
I guess you would
apart
get
from
on
like
board pretty
trying
quick.
to. I don't know if you could dig yourself out after the back part has collapsed. That might be more dangerous than good.
Oh, I don't think they could get it. No, because like if they pull rocks out, they could just cause more to fall anyways. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're pretty
So-
fucked. They have to keep the only way out is forward. So yeah, might as well
Exactly.
hope for an exit.
So they continue forward and they cross a large cavern using this rope, which is quite an intense scene
Very
that they
intense.
stayed on for so fucking long. And
Just
like
waiting.
people, the first girl I think was Juno, where she just like bear crawls
No. Juno's
across the ceiling.
she's the last one to go because she does it the dickish way. She's the
Yeah, but I
prick.
thought she went back and then.
Oh, does
got
she?
it.
Oh, does she go there
think-
and? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Because she
Okay.
crawled. Maybe I could. be
I just
wrong, but
remember her
someone-
at the end trying to
Yeah.
like be extra dickish for no reason,
Exactly.
and fucking it up.
She definitely does that. But anyways, like the first
Yeah.
person to go across has to like bear crawl across the ceiling,
Super
holding onto,
scary.
like, what the fuck? The bear crawl, and like they put pegs into the ceiling where they can like attach a rope onto and like little carabiner like hook
Yeah, it's
things.
like
I
it's
don't
like
know. It's like
anchors.
a pulley
It's like
system.
anchors that they put
Anchors,
into it
yeah.
that they attach the carabiners to, so they can run the rope
Yeah.
through it to create like this big pulley system that they can,
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
wire people
there's
across. But like the upper body
one-
strength of these fucking women, like she's like one arm holding the rock and like twisting at the same time slowly, and she has to like retwist herself and re-grab onto the rock. Like Jesus Christ, these
I
women are
don't
buff.
understand. How? I have no upper body strength.
Oh god,
Bullshit.
yeah.
Anyway, so she does that, and it's intense. And then each person goes across, and then of course, Juno at the end is just like, "We're gonna need all the shit that we have." So she goes and she tries to get the rope and the anchors and all this shit. And of course, in like the last one, she falls, she loses her balance, and Sarah is the nice one holding the rope, and the rope just like, the full weight of a body that she's holding
Yeah.
onto with just one rope, and it just destroys her hand with the rope burn. So that's like great. And Juno doesn't die somehow, like she still makes it. And
Yeah, because the rest of them
why-
grab onto the rope and pull her ass up after.
Oh
drop her.
god. And while Sarah is just like looking at her bloody hand and like wraps it up and stuff, Juno is like, "Oh hey, look at this. This is an old piece of equipment." I'm like, "Oh my god. You don't even give a shit about Sarah." But yeah, so Juno found that there's like 100-year-old cave carabiner, or like cave
Yeah, ooh.
anchor or something. She's like, "Well, there's proof that there was some people in here at one point." It's like, okay, fine. But
That's
show a little
great.
more empathy for Sarah, because you guys
Yeah.
are assholes. Or at least Juno's an asshole. So
Yeah, she's very selfish. Like it shows her character very well by not having to like make her really cliche. Like she's just self-centered. Like she's not
yeah,
necessarily trying to be like mean to Sarah or whatever. She's just being herself, and she really doesn't actually give a shit about other people very much, which becomes more and more evident as the movie goes on.
Yes, it does. Yeah, so the next scene, there's another girl named Holly. She runs ahead, which was kind of a stupid scene because she
What a
thought she saw
dumbass.
light. She thought she saw
Yeah.
light at the end of the tunnel, so she's running, and everyone's like, "Holly, don't run! You're gonna hurt yourself. You're running in a cave. Like, what are
A
you doing?"
dark,
So
dark cave.
she's running ahead, and of course falls down a fucking hole, and it's like 20 feet deep or something.
Oh,
So
she
of
falls
course,
far.
far. She falls
All on
real
rocks. Everything's
far.
so hard that they hit in this movie.
Everything.
There's nothing soft that they land on.
So she survives it, but she breaks her leg real fucking bad. And it's like I was describing in the beginning, where like her bone's sticking out, and then everyone comes down and tries to like put a splint in it. They have to reset her leg and then put a
Yes.
splint on it and like try
When they
to
establish
fucking.
that the third lady, her younger sister's with them, and she's like a 1 year away from becoming a doctor, so she has like the skills to actually do this. It's not like someone just pulls
Yeah.
this out of their ass. It's like, I'll do it.
Fun story though. This is going to be a bit of a tangent. My sister is a badass. She had a tree fall on her, a 50,000 pound tree. It fell on her. I think it's
Fucking
50,000, or was it 5,000? Somewhere. It was like
Five
whatever.
thousand is still really heavy.
It's probably 5,000.
Probably five. A
50,000.
50,000 pound tree is that'd be like one of those massive redwoods. I think she would probably get smushed.
You'd just die. 5,000 pound tree, a regular
It's still
tree.
very heavy.
It fell on her. It pinned part of her body into a campfire. This was like in the middle of the woods, and she went to medical school, and so all of her friends were med students that she was camping
Yeah.
with. They got her out from under the tree. They were able to stabilize her body, put it like on a flat surface, make sure everything
Shit.
was properly in place. Then the ambulance came and she got to the hospital, but that having friends that are in med school will fucking save your life.
God damn it! I need to make more friends with doctors.
Yes, right? They all knew what to do, and my sister's fine now, but like they didn't, the doctors weren't sure if she was gonna make it, and then they didn't think she was gonna walk, and then she's fine. Like the worst thing she has is just like she's got third-degree burns all down her leg, but it's all
But
like
she can
skin
move
graft up.
fine, and
Yeah.
she has no
No
actual.
one would ever know unless you saw like the burn on her leg. No one would ever know that she had any sort of an accident.
And didn't that tree just like fall from nothing? Like it was just rotted,
Yeah.
and it was like terrible
No one
timing on
knew.
like it just
It was
fell.
just like you hear a crack and then the tree's on the ground and it's
That's
on top
crazy.
of Katie.
It's
Yeah.
like, well, it's funny because like in movies you always kind of imagine like trees falling kind of like slowly, but I guess like in
I
reality it's like
know.
boom.
It's just like
Yeah.
it's like what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like
Why?
logging cartoons have taught me that once you cut a tree off, it has a momentary start to it and then goes. And it looks like it's kind of
Right.
bounces.
Nobody really knows why. They think it was just it was just kind of maybe it was hit by lightning prior and it had like a crack internally and it was just that was the time it was falling. No one really knows, but
Poor luck.
it's a mystery. It was kind of she was like a celebrity in the hospital for a while.
I would imagine. That's a crazy story that would definitely get
Yeah.
around. You see the girl got crushed by a tree and lit on fire? You thought she was going
And
to die.
she's fine now. Yeah. Oh, crazy times.
Yeah.
But yeah. So it pays to have friends in med schools, which I need to make more of as well.
All right. If you ever go out in the wilderness, make sure you
So-
bring a doctor friend along.
Yes. So while Holly is getting her leg all like splinted up, Sarah wanders off and she spots a pale humanoid creature, which in my head when I saw it, I was like, hey, it's Gollum. Like it didn't look like anything you ever wanted to be around.
No.
And she, in her head, was like, oh, there's people here.
Oh my god, I know. Like it's crouched almost exactly like Gollum. Like he's crouched kind of like on
Yeah,
down,
like
and he's like
over a
eating like
pond.
something like,
Yeah, I think
then
he
he
was like getting
turns.
water.
and then
Yeah.
it scuttles away. Like it goes like, like it doesn't
Yes.
like just get up and like walk away. No, it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you would go back and you wouldn't be like, "There's people here. There's a fucking monster here." Gollum is in the
there,
caves.
there's a creature that you probably don't want to encounter, but
They're
no,
English,
I
goddammit. Why haven't they read Lord of the Rings?
yeah, come on, you know that, the guy that wrote
Orcs,
those.
cave trolls. Like J.R.R. Tolkien prepared you for this shit.
You
They
should
didn't.
be, you should be aware that Gollum lives in caves.
Yeah,
Everyone knows,
yeah. The Lord of the
and
Rings is a true
so
story, so just remember that.
yeah, it takes place in the Sarah cave. So Sarah,
Sarah
maybe
Cave.
because
All this
God, I
murder
love
happens.
you.
Welcome to Cave Sarah, the deadliest place on earth.
Welcome to Cave Sarah, where we
It's
all
filled with
hate Juno.
monsters.
Yeah, maybe because she's having a bit of a mental break. It can be explained a little bit by that, and it's dark, and who knows. But anyway,
Yeah.
she
Well,
thinks
she's
it's
seen her
a
daughter at this
human.
point, and like her birthday
Yeah,
cake and stuff. So she's kind of tripping balls every once in a while. And I think she's gotten
she
like
is
concussed possibly at this point because she takes a
right.
good noggin smashing at one point.
Yeah, like and she from that collapsing tunnel alone. Like who
Yeah,
knows? There's a lot
yeah.
of shit happening.
Her brains are pretty
But
rattled.
her brains are rattled. And so she's like exclaiming to the rest of the group, "I think there's people down here. I saw like a guy over in the corner.
People over there. Look,
There's
it's a
paper. There's paper
man.
over here. There's a man." So that's great. And yeah, so the group continues on, and they've splinted
They all
Holly
say it's
up.
bollocks. I don't
Yep.
believe Sarah.
Don't believe it. And then they stumble upon a den of animal bones, which is cool. And at that point, there's the little man that
Oh
that
yes,
Sarah saw comes in and says hello, which happens to be basically like an equivalent of Gollum, like a crawler. They call them crawlers, and they're
yeah,
just like
crawlers. Yeah.
they look like if maybe hundreds of years ago humans got trapped into a cave and then they slowly evolved into these weird, slimy, naked mutants. They're like that.
Well, yeah,
They
I'll
golems.
say that the director his little backstory for them is that they were ancient cavemen that just decided to stay living in caves, and over thousands and thousands of years of just living in the caves, they evolved to turn into what they become. But they were
Okay.
originally just cavemen, hence why there were like you see other cave paintings as well, not just the big mountain ones. So there is kind of evidence that they used to be normal people, and they just kind of it's like an off branch of humanity. Like some of them left caves, and other people went deeper into caves. And
Oh god. They're the humans you never want to meet.
yeah, yeah,
They're all very inbred, I imagine.
yeah. That would have to imagine. You know, the stock is thin.
Stock runs a little low. Um, yeah,
That's the least of their
so
worries.
yeah. So at this point, Holly is attacked and killed when a crawler bites through her throat.
Oh, super hard. Yeah, and
Um,
it's like very sudden too. It's a very cool shot where it's just kind of like it's just like sitting there with its head crooked. It goes like that, just like
yes.
blasted off.
She's like,
It's very
gotcha.
sudden.
I got your throat. Sarah runs and she falls down a hole, becomes unconscious,
Oh, okay, that's when she
and
smashes her head. Yeah.
that's when she smashes her head. And Juno tries attacking the crawlers, and she's like getting freaked out. She can hear the sounds of them all over the place. She thinks she hears one behind her, turns around, and stabs Beth through the neck.
Oh no.
She thought it was a
Beth.
crawler, but nope, it's Beth.
Oh, so sad.
And Beth, in her like sudden
Holy-
shock, is like reaching up as she's falling and grabs on to a pendant that Juno is wearing and holds it in her hand. She's like begging Juno to stay, but Juno runs away. And Beth is just left there with her pendant and with a stab through her throat.
What a giant asshole.
Yeah, didn't even couldn't finish the
She
job.
didn't even say
'cause, like,
sorry, I
she's-
don't think. She didn't even, like,
Didn't-
apologize.
No,
Just
she
looked
didn't
at
say
her, like-
sorry. She just ran away. She didn't, like, she's gonna bleed to death or be eaten. And she didn't say anything. She didn't kill her in a humane way. She just fucking left. So that's real nice. That paints a very great picture of Juno.
Yeah. Again, such a selfish prick.
Yeah. So then we see Sarah awakening in where she fell, and she realized that she's fallen into a den of human carcasses. And then it's kind of cutting all over the place at this point. It was hard to find
Pretty frantic. Yeah.
where to go,
Like,
because this part of the movie is very
everyone's separated
frantic.
at this point, so yeah,
Everyone's
it's very
separated.
confusing as to what's happening.
Juno finds drawings that point to an exit. And then we see Sam and Beth. Yeah, Sam and Beth, they're the sisters. And they are hiding from these crawlers, and they realize, because they have a flashlight, pointing it at the crawler, but the crawler isn't reacting to the light. So they've realized that the crawlers are actually completely blind, and they are only reacting to sound. So now they can kind of use a little bit more of, light and stuff to their advantage. It's not gonna, like, tip off the crawlers too much.
They at least have a chance to survive now instead of, like, 0%.
Yes. Exactly, a chance. And then we see Sarah. Sarah finds Beth and sees the necklace. And
She finds the other Irish lady, and she gets torn apart right in front of her. Remember, she gets, like, eaten in front of her, and it's like, blah, 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 blah. And, like, she's watching it through the night vision camera.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a cool part. So there's Sarah has this camcorder, because they are trying to record stuff throughout this whole exploration, and she's using the night vision on the camcorder to actually, like, see where she's going and see who's there, which I thought was a very good use of using a camcorder, which is in direct contrast to when we were watching The Visit. I'm just like, come on, like, stuff like this is so much nicer. Like, you are using something for a fucking purpose. So that was very nice to see. It was nice to see, yeah. And then later she makes, I don't know if this happens now or if it's later, but she finds, I think it's after she sees Beth or whoever get, like, eaten.
Yeah, the Irish lady. I don't remember her name. She's the one that gets the compound fracture, and she gets killed in the fracas, and then she gets
Holly.
eaten. Holly. Okay, yeah.
Holly. She sees Holly get all eaten up, and after that she finds an old lantern with lighter fluid in it, and she makes, like, a makeshift torch from, like, the bandage around Holly's leg, and puts that around, like, a stick, and she has, like, this epic torch now. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, because you find out that, like, there was kind of like a mining crew down here maybe like 100 years ago or something, so there's helmets, and that's where all those corpses kind of came from, and that's why she found that lantern and stuff.
Yeah, this part of the movie is not really verbally explained. It's kind of just established, and you kind of figure it out as you're watching it, which is nice.
They use
it's
visual
more
storytelling.
Yeah, visual
Oh
storytelling, and we're just kind of going through the main beats of it, and this part is just very frantic. So hopefully it's not too confusing to listen to. So after this point, Sarah then finds Beth, who's the one that was stabbed by Juno, and she discovers like, Beth is trying to warn her about Juno, and she's like, you can't trust her, and she shows her the necklace that she got from Juno that she was wearing, which was used to belong to her. It was like a gift from her husband, which basically explains that Juno was cheating, or not Juno was cheating, her husband was cheating on her with Juno. And
that's why they got in a car accident, because her husband didn't want to talk about the fact that he was having sex with her best friend.
Yeah.
Real scummy dad.
That's pretty shitty. And it's amazing that all of this can be deduced from just some, like, very simple storytelling, like, visual storytelling.
When you
It's
have a simple
great.
story that isn't cluttered with a bunch of bullshit, it's so wonderful because you can set up these little nuggets and you'll remember them because it isn't like overshadowed by 50 other fucking nuggets that you sprinkle everywhere.
Yeah, you're not sprinkling turds. You're actually like sprinkling little
Planting
nuggets
seeds.
of story, and
Storytelling.
the actual audience can put it together and feel like they've accomplished something,
They
like
get
they're
eureka
figuring it
moments.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that happened. Da, 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 da. So that
Yeah.
was a cool thing to figure out. And after this, Sarah basically bashes in Beth's head
She makes
as,
the tough
you know,
call. Poor Beth. She's still alive. I'm impressed she lived
it's
so fucking long with that like neck wound. I don't know how long someone can live with a wound that goes through their neck and out the back of their head, but she holds
I
on
guess
for a while.
if they're not moving, yeah, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. She
For
wasn't
and
going
who knows
anywhere.
how long things have been happening, because there's a lot happening in the movie, but like it might have only been like 20 minutes. Like
That's
you have no
true. Yeah,
idea
like
in
yeah, if you think
reality,
about an actual time that all of this takes, probably pretty quick. Yeah.
because it keeps cutting between characters, so it's probably
Mm-hmm.
all happening at once, you know. Um,
Of
yeah, so
course.
that's pretty shitty that she has to do that, but it is a respectable decision, and
Yeah,
she does
it's
it
human
by
enough.
like like stepping on her head real hard.
Oh, I thought she like
Insane.
smashes it with like a big boulder or something.
No, she uses her foot.
Oh god, that's really hardcore.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happens because I saw her like do a stomp, but it shows it from far away, so you don't see anything.
Oof. Yeah, yeah.
Fucked
That
up.
wouldn't be very tasteful if you just see her head like blow up everywhere.
No,
After this
no.
beautiful moment where she like, I'll miss you forever, and then just show
I'm
her
pretty
like,
sure that's what happens. Maybe I'm
yeah.
wrong, but I'm
Her,
pretty
her
sure.
noggin gets crushed one way or another. It's very smushed. And she's very
Yeah.
dead.
And then we get the next sequence, which I like to call the Mandy sequence from like Mandy,
Oh,
the movie, which is
yeah.
like Sarah has like this super badass sequence where there's
Yes.
crawlers that come up to her, but she's basically like fighting them off. She goes into a pool of blood. It's just this, the whole room is just red, and it's such a cool looking sequence though, and she
Yeah.
just like emerges from this super thick red pool, just completely covered like Carrie style.
Yes, yes. Her expression on her face is very crazy Carrie like. I imagine that
Very
was probably
Carrie,
the inspiration for that one shot because she's
because it's
like,
so
you could.
good.
She has the appropriate face for someone who has just run away from horrible cave monsters and has fallen into a lake of blood. Like, she has the
She
appropriate
has
face
that
for
face where it's like all red and it's just the whites of your eyes with just like small pupils, and you're just like, the fuck
that.
is
Very
happening? Just
intense.
all red. So cool looking. And yeah, she's getting attacked by all these crawlers, but she uses sound to her advantage because at one point she's just lying on top of corpses, and you see a crawler like standing on her, looking
Yeah, it's like
around,
drooling on her.
sniffing. Yeah, and then right when the crawler's about to leave, she gets up and just bashes it in the head, stomps it in the head. Like you see, oh, like
The hunter has
I thought
become the hunted.
it's so cool. It was very
Yeah, it's
badass.
it's the badass. It's definitely like the badass part of the movie where she's like figured it out and she's like, I am just gonna fucking kill you assholes now. She's not like worried about anything else. She just murdered her friend. She's found out that her husband cheated on her with her supposed best friend.
Oh
She's
yeah,
like a lot to
she
unpack.
can't go back now. Can't go back now.
No,
And at
take
this
it all
point,
out on these fuckers.
then we cut back to the other people and we see how they're doing. And a crawler rips out Sam's throat.
Oh, poor
And
Sam.
then Rebecca is eaten alive. So it's like they're trying to escape. And I'm pretty sure at one point, like, Juno was yelling for them. And then that, like, tips off the crawlers. And they're just, like, running around.
Juno gets everyone
And
else killed except herself,
I
essentially.
know, it's so fucking bullshit. Because
Like she
after
thinks
that,
she's the
that
being the
attracts the
badass, but
crawlers.
she always is the one that's fucking up and killing people. Like you think that she's gonna be the badass, but she just fails at it every time she attempts to do
Because
it.
she's selfish.
Yeah.
She's not looking out for anyone but herself. And she's ignorant to actually what is causing the crawlers to be attracted. So
Mhm.
then Rebecca and Beth? No, I keep losing track of who is Sam. So Sam and Rebecca are the sisters, and
Okay.
I think, and Juno's like calling out for them, and then they're like, "You need to be quiet." Like they're attracted to sound, and then after that, the crawlers come and they kill Rebecca and Sarah. Not
Yeah.
Sarah, Rebecca and
Sam.
fuck
Sam.
Sam.
Yeah, yeah. Sarah's not here yet. She's still in the pool of blood.
Yeah. So then we see like Juno kind of like escaping, running around, and then in the top corner of the screen we see Sarah like come out from like a hole in the wall, basically completely covered in blood. And
Yeah.
like, oh shit, shit's about to go down. And
She looks
now
pissed.
Sarah approaches Juno and she's completely fucked up now mentally, and like basically asks her about everything that has happened, mostly currently about Beth, the one that was stabbed, and like said that Juno did this to her,
Yeah.
and she denies it,
Gives her a chance.
and then gives her a chance, asks about the husband, and she denies it, and then shows the proof, and she's like, oh fuck. And they're basically trying to escape at this point, and they find an exit, but right before they leave, Sarah stabs Juno in the leg.
Right in the knee. She's not
Right in
going
the fucking
anywhere.
knee. She's not going anywhere, and you just see this look of shock on Juno's face as Sarah basically escapes. And
She
there's
might as well
more
just, like,
things that
wave
kind
the
of
middle
happen,
finger
but
at her as she walks
yeah.
off. Moonwalk
And
backwards out of the room.
as she leaves the room, you just hear screams, and you see like all the crawlers are like in the flickering light of the
Yeah.
disappearing
trying
torch. You know, you see all the crawlers coming into the room. You hear the
Juno.
screams of Juno, and then we cut to Sarah that is just basically crawling up a just giant sea of bones to like the one exit out of the ground,
Yeah, it's a
which
very
is a
cool
very cool shot. Like that was one of the best shots in the movie. That one and
So
the
many
blood
bones.
sequence, real
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, those are really striking images. Just so
Because
like
it's
that the
yeah,
wide shot where it's like all black and it's just like this one little tunnel of light and you barely see any of it, but you can understand the scope of how big that room must be and how many body parts must be in there.
yeah. Because there's two angles that are really cool, and the one is it's shot from behind, where you can just see the tunnel disappearing into the distance with just the light at the very end, and it's all just white bones with just black surrounding it, and it's only illuminated by the light coming out from outside. And then you see a side shot when Sarah is trying to crawl up it, so it's like completely profile of her trying to crawl up these bones. It's just very, very nice, simple framing, but very pretty.
Mm-hmm. And the
And
first
disturbing.
ray of light you've seen in like over an hour in
Yeah.
this movie, so you don't realize like as an audience watching it how like you're like, oh, sunlight. You're almost as excited as she is to actually see different lighting than just black tunnel like that you've
Yeah.
seen for so long.
It's very cool. So yeah, Sarah escapes, and she
emerges
basically
from the ground.
she emerges from the ground. She's just like completely fucked up, runs to the car.
She
and
has
just
like the best
speeds out
initial
of there.
reaction where she gets out and like, you know, in like a shitty horror movie, they're like, oh yay, we're free, and like they have no like realistic reaction to all the trauma they've just experienced, but she is just screaming like a wild
Yeah.
animal the top running, just
Yeah.
screaming and running.
Which is
it's just
what you would do.
perfectly
You would be screaming for your life, just
Yeah,
running,
she
runs to the
finds-
car. She
cries kind of as she
speeds.
does the car and she's like
Yeah.
shaking.
And when
the
she's
whole time.
driving away, like it almost seems like she's gonna drive off the road because she's so frantic and she's
You're worried
going
she's
so
gonna
fucking
get in a
fast.
car accident and die, and that's how
Yeah.
the movie's gonna
She's-
end.
Basically having a panic attack while she's driving, which is completely understandable. And she pulls over to the side where she's basically has to stop to
Puke.
puke out of the
Yeah.
side of her car. And then there's like the last, not quite the last jump scare of the movie, but a giant logging truck goes past, and it just like the sound of that shocks you,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh god, okay, but you think it's over. And then she turns to her passenger seat and she sees the ghost of Juno, which she's all bloody and fucked up, and it's like, all right, cool, now you have to live with that for the rest of your life.
The end.
That's how it ends.
Your life is ruined.
Or seeing, yeah, the projection or image of Juno next to her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's that, and that's The Descent. It was an intense movie, but it was a good movie.
Yeah, it is a very, very good, intense movie. It is it makes you feel like you are along for the journey with these women. And when you get
Yes.
to the end of it, you're just like, oh, you almost take like a deep breath when she takes that deep breath when she gets out of that hole, and she's just like, breathing like fresh
Yeah,
air.
yeah, gasping for air. God,
Yeah,
because the
it's
shit that she did in that cave is probably not who she is in real life, but she had
seemed
to
like
get
a
out of it.
very lovely lady at the beginning of the movie. Just this soft-spoken,
Yep.
like sweet mom that had a young daughter and she thought loving husband, and she seemed to have her shit together. And it's like that this movie's just about her whole life falling apart.
Yeah.
How could a person
So
go
yeah,
from being perfectly normal to just batshit
yep.
crazy?
God, I mean that I feel like the crawlers and the situation in that cave would do that to anybody.
Yeah.
Um, but with that being said, we could now get into the making of special treats, special I don't
Special
know,
treats.
special treats.
The making of special treats. The movie.
The making
It's
of
a movie.
special treats.
I wouldn't want to
The
watch
little
that movie. That
extra.
sounds like a bad touch movie. It's Stranger Danger.
Like a bad touch.
It's
The
a
little
bad treat.
extra like making of
Yeah.
extras that you
Yes.
that you
Treat.
discovered. Special treats you found. You can
Let
tell
me
us.
show you
tell
my
us all
special
about
treats.
that. I'm talking for too long. I feel like I can't think properly, so my brain
gotta
was
get
like
arrested.
special treats.
Special treats. Like if I said that outside of an elementary school, I get arrested.
Who wants special treats? Not me.
No. Well, too bad. You're gonna get them, and here they come.
Oh shit.
So, let's just start, I think, with the one that was most shocking to me, which I didn't realize until I looked this up, but there's actually another ending to this movie, and the one that we watched is the American ending. And there's an original version. The UK version has more to it, and was deemed too depressing for American audiences. And it actually puts a very different twist on the ending of the movie. It completely changes the ending of the movie and makes it, I think, far better and far, far more depressing. So it's pretty great. So the American version ends with her seeing the ghost of Juno, but the UK version after that, it cuts, and all of a sudden it cuts back to Juno waking up after she fell down to the cave where she finds the exit. She's actually still there, and it's not an exit. She hallucinated the entire escape to the car, the hole out of the earth. Everything was in her imagination, because when she was trying to get out, she actually fell down a tunnel
Oh,
then
you
found
say
the exit.
Juno, but it's Sarah.
Sarah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Sarah, when she's trying to get out, she falls down before she finds the exit, and she kind of gets knocked unconscious, and she gets woken up by the sunlight. That turns out that that's not actually the sunlight. It's her hallucination of what she's imagining happening. And so she wakes up, and she's in the exact same position, but there's no sunlight. It's just darkness. And then she looks over, and she sees her daughter sitting beside her with the birthday cake again. And she gets up, and she smiles, and she sits beside her daughter, and she starts looking at her. And then it just cuts and starts pulling out, and you see that it's just Sarah sitting alone with her torch burning on the ground where the cake is, and her daughter's just not there. And she's completely alone in this like huge wide cavern that's almost complete darkness except for the burning torch, and you just hear the crawlers coming towards her. And that's how the movie ends, with the camera pulling out farther and farther, and you
Oh
see her
my
disappear into the
god.
darkness. And so she never escapes either. She fucking the whole
Wow.
thing is a hallucination. And it's perfectly
Fuck.
set up because throughout the movie, every time she hits her head, she sees another hallucination, and she's constantly tripping balls.
It is set
So
up well, and honestly, like, it makes sense the way that her escape was shot too, of like how
it's dreamlike.
dreamlike it was, because it was,
It
yeah,
felt
very
like
beautifully
yeah,
shot, but
escaping
it was
hell or
very
something.
dream. Yeah, it did. It looked like escaping hell.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so
that
in
was
the, in the
cool.
UK version, it actually was, which also makes a second Descent movie impossible. So, which there is a second one, so you kind of have to ignore the UK ending if you watch the second one.
Yeah, pick your own adventure, I guess.
But I really like that ending. It's super dark, and that's my kind of ending. That it's
It's
super
realistic
nihilistic.
for a situation like that.
Well, I will tell you, I know why he chose that ending, because he said one of his great inspirations for this movie was John Carpenter's The Thing, which perfectly makes
Uh,
sense with the camaraderie of the characters, the breakdown of trust, and how the ending is nihilistic as shit. Like, super
it's
nihilistic.
probably why I liked it, because I did like the thing a lot. Has
Yeah,
this?
it's
It
so
has a
funny.
similar
Even
vibe.
25 years later, the Americans still can't handle the ending to The Thing.
Yeah.
It's
Damn.
such a powerful
I
ending, apparently.
I honestly I think the ending to the thing is perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think I'd
It's
want it to be happy.
no, it shouldn't be.
I don't know. It's
It shouldn't.
fucked
Yeah,
up.
it shouldn't just like
It's
all.
at least it's vague enough where it's like you could like make it happy yourself, but
Yeah.
I
Either
don't
way,
know.
they're
It's
probably
pretty
not going to make it. At least
nihilistic.
humanity will survive. And so in this
Yeah.
case, it's like the stakes are low enough. You feel really bad that Sarah's not going to get out, but you don't have to worry about these cave dwellers invading the planet or anything. But yeah, so I was very surprised by that. That made me super happy to discover that there was like a far superior ending to it. So you have to get my hands on like a UK Blu-ray or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, but now on to the next big
Ooh, the next
brain
special
melter.
treat.
The next special treat. Number two. So, this was all shot in the UK, and all the exterior, because we thought maybe it was going to be BC, because it looked very kind of British Columbia,
Yeah,
the
it did
outdoor
look
stuff.
BC.
That was all shot in Scotland.
Scotland.
Scotland, and
Okay.
the cave, every cave shot was 100% a set. None of it was a real cave.
Wow.
They
That's so
went
impressive.
Yeah, they went to a cave at one point, and the director
Also much
realized,
safer.
well, yeah, he realized one, it's super dangerous, and two, it's gonna be so time consuming to try to get any shots. And it was a low budget movie because, like you said, it was only $303.5 million, so you didn't have a lot of money to work with. So they couldn't afford to
5.6 or
actually
something.
shoot on location. So they built it at this place, Pinewood Studios, just outside of London. And
Okay.
I found two contradicting statements on how many pieces of the cave there was. One interview, which I'm kind of leaning towards being true, because this is what the director said, is that there was 6 cave sets that they created, and they couldn't create any more because they just didn't have any more money. So what they
Yeah.
did was they just kept. They were modular, so they could actually change the positions of all the
Oh, smart.
caves, so they could kind of like reconnect them in different ways, and then they would just reset dress them. So like they would add
Yeah.
water to some of the scenes, they would take out some of the plant life, they would repaint the surfaces, and most of all, they would always change the entrances slightly to so any character entering a cave, even though it was like sometimes the exact same entrance, they would just change what the entrance looked like, and that's enough to trick your brain
Smart.
into thinking
It's
that it's a
smart.
different cave.
Very smart
It's
of them to shoot it in a cave and have them in different areas, because then you don't really have to worry about too much continuity, because people, unless you're revisiting the same area, which they do, but like for the most part caves are so ambiguous, and it's dark. It's
mm-hmm.
like nothing is has any major landmarks. So
Yeah,
smart.
everything's rock.
Rock.
Yeah,
rock.
so you're not gonna like pick up on any really, especially if you repaint it and especially if you relight it, and they what they did was they took molds of real caves and then used that to create the styrofoam molds that they actually use. So everything's styrofoam, and they just paint it, which is amazing that you can paint styrofoam
It looks
to
so
look.
good for that.
I know, it looks totally real. It
Impressive.
doesn't even have bouncy rocks or anything. Like when the cave-in
Yeah.
happens, it looks like real rocks.
It looks hard. Like it's like when the characters are falling and shit. Like, yeah, they do a good job.
Yeah, it was super impressive. So IMDb also said there was 21 cave sets, but then if there's
It
21
seems like a
cave
lot.
sets, that's a lot of cave sets, and I don't think they
Maybe
go into
that's,
21 different sections of caves in the movie.
I think
so.
it's maybe like 21, like assembled, because it's like, oh, there's
Yeah.
like 6 full sets, but it can be assembled into 21 different ones or something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're counting as they did go into 21 locations made out of different cave sets.
Yeah.
That's probably what they meant. But yeah, so that was really crazy. And so also, again, with what you mentioned about the lighting and how dramatic it is based off of like the flares and later on those like big neon green glowing lights that they get.
Yep.
And the director wanted to try and make sure that all the lighting was only created from stuff that they would have had with them from their journey.
Yep.
So that's why they made sure to use the camcorder and found footage a little bit. And they that's why some of the characters have lights on their helmets, just to like, so when they're facing each other, they both have lights on their face. They're like, oh yeah, wait, we can just put lights on their heads. That's fine. That's what people have in caves.
Smart. Yeah.
So it's like they just made sure that they had like all the equipment that you could possibly have that generates light, and then they use that for most of the shots. I'm sure they cheated it with some. They probably did some like actual like studio lighting, but for the most part, it seems because the lighting seems very different from a lot of movies I've seen. I would believe that probably most of the shots were created with just the light from their different sources that they were carrying. But it was and also I found out that those giant glow sticks, they bought them at a sex shop. That's where they found them. What a wonderful place. So I was always wondering, because I just thought, I was like, where do you get those? That'd be fun to have giant glow sticks. They're so big. It's like, okay, just go to a sex shop. Apparently.
Good to know. Go to a sex shop and get some giant glow sticks.
Yeah, I'm not sure how giant glow sticks fit into a sex shop, but I guess if you want some dramatic cave lighting.
Yeah.
Just like, glow sticks.
Just like imagining someone just waving it around and like before going to bed, like, look what I got for tonight, honey. And they're just like, cool. Woo! This way to the bed. Just like pointing with the glow sticks.
It's like one of those air traffic controllers. It's like guiding airplanes. And go this way.
Turned off all the lights and changed the location of the bed so it's different tonight. Follow the glow sticks.
Look at my sexy glow sticks. So yeah, you ever want to spice it up in the bedroom, get giant glow sticks.
Get some glow sticks and move your bed.
You know what? People do it differently in the UK. We don't know what they're into across the pond.
It's true.
We can't fathom what sort of glow stick sex they could possibly be having over there.
Glow stick sex.
Our North American minds can't possibly fathom. But so they onto the crawlers themselves. They were actually inspired. Another inspiration for the movie, he said, was Nosferatu, and that's what they used to inspire the crawler design off of. They originally were apparently more creature-like. They had like giant eyes, and they kind of had like more of like a longer neck. But it took so long to get all the people into makeup that they just said, fuck it, we're not going to do this. We have to make them more like humanoid just for practicality's sake. And they also were going to be phosphorescent originally, which means they were going to glow. Like they would be like glowing, like it was like glowing mushrooms underground and stuff.
Yeah.
They were going to actually like glow and kind of be shiny. But it completely deflated all the terror because you could
I was
just see
gonna
them
say,
glowing off in the distance in the darkness. They're just like,
yeah,
doesn't.
that doesn't make them very sneaky at all.
No. They decided to go with them blending into the shadows being a little more effective than just
Yes.
glowing.
Smart.
Yeah. I think they made the right choice there, and they also, just as a interesting kind of insistence by the director, he wanted to make sure that every person in the creature makeup was a professional actor and not a stunt person, because they
Oh,
wanted to
cool.
they wanted to emphasize their like character and kind of like subtle emotions that these creatures give off, because they really do, like in certain parts, like when Sarah kills this one younger crawler that gets on her, she murders it and throws it away, and then this like mother crawler kind of comes
Yeah.
out and like coddles it, and you could tell that like she's upset and in pain that her child's dead. And then there's like this one kind of alpha crawler that's like the really big one that she fights, and apparently his name is Scar. He's like the leader of their pack. So the director even went into trying to make sure that they had some sort of hierarchy within their society, and like actual kind of, they're not just monsters essentially.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So, and so also I also noticed this. They said it was a nod, but I felt it was just kind of ripping it off. But they sound almost exactly like the Predator, and also they say that the reason why they sound like the Predator is because they wanted to make them to have dolphin noises. I guess that's how they made the Predator sound. But they
Oh.
wanted to give them dolphin noises so that it would hint to the audience that they use echolocation, like that thing that they always do. Like,
Oh, yeah.
so that's supposed to be them doing echolocation. So they're bouncing sound off the walls so that they can see through sound, and that's why they're completely blind, but can see where they're going really well, is because they can see them once they start moving. Essentially, it creates an image for them out of sound, which is
Yeah,
freaking
cool.
cool.
That's a cool idea.
Right. And also, apparently, there is actually a little scene early on in the movie around the 47 mark where you can actually see the shadow of a crawler when they light one
Oh.
of the flares up. When they first go into the
Oh,
cave, and
yeah.
I think it's when Sarah walks a little farther and she's using
Yeah.
her flashlight. You see just like it's walking out of frame, so you just see its shadow moving away, and it could just be like because she's moving the flashlight. It's kind of the camera, but or it's like the light source changing the shadow, but it cuts away and cuts back to the same shot, and that shadow's completely gone. So they're like, "Oh, someone spotted that like 5 years after it was released." They're like,
Oh,
"Hey,
really?
yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
Hey, I know
that's
this."
cool.
Yeah,
It's
and
a little Easter egg.
yeah, and so one of the very interesting twists and cut scenes from the movie is there was a theory that that was created by the director that he wanted to put into the movie, was that in the initial hallucination that Sarah has when she's in the hospital and she's running down the corridor and all the lights are
Yep.
shutting off, there's she was actually sees a crawler like creature
Oh,
in her hallucination in that shot.
yeah.
And so there is a theory that the whole movie doesn't have any monsters, and that it's just Sarah has completely snapped when she goes into the cave and she kills everybody herself, because
That's a
they
cool theory.
and she just imagines the crawlers, and that's her insanity, just like causing her to go completely berserk and just murder all of her friends. And
Damn, what a sad way to go.
yeah, that would have been a pretty
God.
brutal way to do it too, if you somehow just cut to her just killing everybody and there's no monsters
God.
anywhere.
Yeah, it just cuts to like her in the big room and all of her friends are dead around her and she's alone.
Covered in blood.
Just alone, covered in blood with her torch and hallucinating her daughter next to her. That's
Oh,
even more depressing.
that would actually, yeah, that would be really good too. I'd be okay with that.
Oh.
Yeah, they were so and then I guess the one other kind of fun fact is that oddly enough, this is very weird because I don't think there's really been spelunking movies since, but there was an American movie being made called The Cave. And it is also about a group of people that go spelunking down into a deep cave where they discover creepy monsters that have echolocation and murder the shit out of them. And
That's conveniently similar.
but I've seen The Cave, and The Cave it stars Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones and a bunch of other assholes. But it is a terribly stupid movie because they aren't just like cavemen that have evolved over the years. These are like weird cave vampires that have like an infection that they can spread, and it gives you stupid cross eyes. This is the early 2000s type of horror that I was talking about that did not age well, and it has a lot of like heavy metal, stupid garbage in it. Yeah, and everyone's just cool and awesome and American. And so, and it ends with like the virus breaking out of the cave because one of the main characters has the cross eye at the end. Sorry if anyone's spoiling the end of The Cave. So, Mr. Marshall found out about this 6 months into the shooting of The Cave. He's like, oh, fuck, someone else is making a cave movie that's like about people getting attacked by monsters. God damn it. So he decided, fuck it, we're British, we're gonna do this anyways. And then I had to write the whole thing down because this is one of the most hilarious British things I have ever heard a British person say. And it was, we were originally going to release after in November or next February, but we thought, let's get it out before them. That'll really piss on their chips.
That'll really piss on their chips. Let's get out before them. That'll really piss on their chips. Okay, that's not a good accent. But you get the gist. That'll really piss on their chips.
Something.
I should stop doing accents because it's just offensive.
To our UK viewership, we're sorry for our terrible English accents. And pretty much anyone who listens around the world who we've attempted to do an accent of, we apologize ahead of time or in advance or in
bad
lieu
accents on this. Yeah. We are getting more and more haters by the day, so never know. Maybe our viewership is just comprised mostly of people that hate us.
Hey, it totally worked for what's his nuts, King of Radio, the guy in New York City with the curly hair. He's still on.
Oh God, but that guy's an asshole.
Yes. Well, we try not to be an asshole, but hey, maybe we just can't help but our inner asshole coming up. We just don't know it. We're too Canadian.
People just think we're stupid and ignorant, probably.
Being ignorant. Well, we can't argue
Stop
that.
being ignorant, okay?
But despite the fact that The Cave got shot 6 months before The Descent, it actually released 3 weeks before The Cave, which you go, Britain. They managed to release.
You frickin'
That's hauling ass,
Britain.
So they must have really hauled ass because they were only in pre-production at that point when they were 6 months into filming it. So there you go.
Ah, cool.
Thankfully, The Descent became a classic, and The Cave became nothing because no one remembers or talks about The Cave, except probably in relation to the fact that it came out near the same time as The Descent. That is what it's famous for.
Yeah, I guess, but I'm glad that The Descent came out first, because that would frickin' suck if they just kind of assumed that they were making a movie because this American movie came out, Because I feel like the American movie wouldn't necessarily get blamed for doing the same thing as The Descent, but The Descent would have, because apparently American movies, own cinema.
Well, I would say that's the reason why, is because Americans think that's the pinnacle of cinema. So if a UK movie comes out beforehand, Americans will just ignore it because they don't pay attention. So ironically,
I'm glad The Descent did well.
Yeah. Well, because it came out 3 weeks earlier in the UK, which means it still came out later in America than The Cave, I would
Oh, shit.
So, who knows? it technically beat it, but not an American release, I would imagine, because for
Damn
one, they
it.
changed the ending. So
Well, I hope it at least did better than The Cave.
I have to imagine The Cave didn't gross the most, since there wasn't a Cave 2. Like
No,
but there was a
but there was a
Descent 2. Yes,
yeah.
well, you can rest assured The Cave only grossed 15 million
Okay,
compared to The
good.
Descent's 50 something, whatever.
53 million. Yeah.
So, yeah, on a
Fuck
far
yeah.
smaller budget. So that's
So
the reason
much
why The
better.
Cave. Yeah, so the budget was it lost $15 million. The budget was estimated to be
Oh
$30 million
shit.
compared to The Descent's $3.5 million. And
Wow.
that's what happens when you hire a bunch of named actors that want a bunch of money instead of people that are just going to make a
Yes.
movie like professionals.
3.5 million dollar budget, and it grossed 57.1 million. I kept mixing up the numbers, but we got it close.
The Cave cost $30 million and made 15. Wah, wah.
Damn. Yeah, this is why you hire just like lesser known actors, or you
Working
just
actors
have a
they do a professional job. They know this is their profession.
yeah.
It's not like their calling where they could be like egotistical assholes that nail rats to wooden boards and send it to you.
Like
Looking at
very
you, Tom
high budget
Giordano.
actors are worth it in some circumstances, but I think even like the best actors that get paid millions of dollars are still willing to do more indie movies for less money because it's a good movie, you know?
Yeah,
Like a lot of them are still dedicated to the craft enough where it's like I understand it's not in your budget, but I still really want to do it. So I'm down.
yeah. That's why I love Adam Driver so much. That man's in
He's
Star
awesome.
Wars and all this other crap, but then he's in Marriage Story.
Marriage
And
Story was good.
it was a wonderful movie. And Lucky Logan, which he plays a hilarious one-armed redneck that robs a NASCAR track with
I love it.
Channing Tatum.
He's just freaking good. He's a good actor.
Oh yeah. Oh, he was also in Terry Gilliam's last movie. I'm imagining he's probably not going to make another one. The not the Legend of Don Quixote, something Don Quixote.
Yeah, something Don Quixote.
What is it called now? Oh, that's too bad. I actually own the movie too.
Oh, you own it. I just know it's something Don Quixote as well. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's like
full
the Death
name.
of Don Quixote. Something. It's a very weird
Was it
movie. As you can
was it good? I actually haven't seen it yet.
I would say it's worth a watch if you like Terry Gilliam,
Okay.
and you
I
obviously
do.
are a Monty Python fan. So
I
yeah,
like Terry Gilliam.
it's got a lot of the Terry Gilliam same actors in it. My favorite Terry Gilliam is Adventures of Baron Munchausen, which is a
Yes,
wonderful
I know.
movie. Yeah, and so yeah, the villain from that movie plays Don Quixote, and it's a really funny. It's a bizarre storyline in how it kind of takes place in two different time periods, but also in two different versions of people's realities. Because the movie's kind of about insanity, which it's Terry Gilliam's like fascination in life is insanity. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very interesting movie. So at the tail end of The Descent, my mini review of movie by Terry Gilliam that we can't remember, but Don Quixote is in the title.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, you get little nuggets of these in our podcasts. It's just the way it goes.
That's just the way it goes. You can't stop the flow of consciousness, man.
Can't stop it, man. And yeah, that's I guess that's the end of our review of The Descent. Thank
Please
you for
go watch
listening.
it. It's probably one of my favorite horror movies. Every time I go back to it,
Oh.
I just re-love it every time. It always gives me the heebie-jeebies just because, not of the monsters, but just the claustrophobia of it. I never want to be trapped in a goddamn cave, and that movie really makes you feel like you're trapped in a goddamn cave.
For me, the moral of the story of watching this is just do not go spelunking.
That's
Ever.
really the moral of the story. Yeah, fuck caves.
I don't want to be here anymore.